Energy is a strategy, and most leaders get this wrong. What if the reason your team isn't executing isn't the strategy? It's the energy you brought into the room when you delivered it. Same plan, same people, same opportunity, completely different outcome. Today, we're talking about something most leaders never think about strategically: the energy you bring into every room, every conversation, every decision. Because here's what I've learned after 3 decades of coaching. People don't just respond to your direction. They respond to how it feels to follow you. And whether you realize it or not, you're setting that tone. I didn't always see energy as strategic. For a long time, I thought my job as a leader was pretty straightforward: solve problems, make decisions, keep things moving forward. And I'm naturally wired for that. I see the path. I create momentum. I get people into action. That's my default setting. But somewhere along the way, I started noticing a pattern that didn't make sense. The same strategy, delivered with different energy, produced completely different results. Same plan, same team, same market opportunity, different outcome. At first, I thought it was timing, or the way I'd communicated it, or maybe the team wasn't fully bought in. But then I realized it wasn't what I was saying. It was the energy I was bringing when I said it. And that changed everything about how I lead. Let me show you what I mean. I'm someone who naturally brings optimism and forward energy into rooms. I see what's possible before others see it. I believe things can work when the path isn't clear yet. I move toward opportunity with confidence. That's a strength. It's helped me build businesses, lead teams through uncertainty, and create momentum when others were stuck in analysis. But I've also learned this the hard way. Positivity without grounding can feel dismissive. I've walked into strategy meetings energized about the next phase while my team was still processing the challenges of the current one. My forward energy, meant to inspire, landed as me not understanding what they were actually facing. I've brought optimism into conversations where what people actually needed was acknowledgement that something was genuinely hard. My "we can do this" felt like, "I don't see what you're struggling with." I've created intensity with my momentum when what the moment needed was space to think. Same energy. Wrong moment. Completely different impact than I intended. Here's what I discovered. Energy isn't about being the loudest person in the room or the most optimistic leader on the team. It's about being intentional with what you bring. Because energy, like every other leadership tool, has a right time and a wrong time. Sometimes leadership looks like casting vision, creating momentum, lifting the room with possibility. That's one kind of energy. And sometimes leadership looks like slowing down, acknowledging what's genuinely difficult, sitting in the tension a little longer before moving to solutions. That's a different kind of energy. Both are valid, both are valuable, and both are leadership. Only one is effective in the wrong moment. So think first started applying here too. Before I bring my natural energy into a room, I started asking myself 3 questions. Question 1, what does this moment actually require? Not what I'm naturally inclined to bring. What does the situation need? Does this team need a push forward, or do they need to feel heard first? Does this conversation need energy and momentum, or does it need calm and groundedness? Does this decision need confident direction, or does it need collaborative exploration? The energy that serves one moment can damage another. So I started learning to read the room before I set the tone. Question 2, am I creating clarity, or am I just creating intensity? There's a difference. Clarity energizes people toward action because they understand what matters and why. Intensity just makes everything feel urgent, without necessarily making it clear. I used to confuse the two. High energy felt like leadership. Fast pace felt like progress. But intensity without clarity just exhausts people. They're moving quickly, but they're not sure where or why. Now I check. Is my energy creating the kind of clarity that helps people act with confidence? Or am I just making everything feel important and urgent? Question 3. Do people need to be lifted up? Or do they need to be met where they are? This one is subtle but critical. Sometimes your team needs you to lift their eyes to the horizon. They're stuck in the weeds, and your job is to remind them why this work matters and where it is going. But sometimes they need you to get down in the weeds with them, to acknowledge that this is legitimately hard, to validate that the struggle is real before you point toward the path forward. If you lift when they need to be met, your optimism feels disconnected from their reality. If you stay in the weeds when they need to be lifted, your empathy becomes heaviness instead of help. Reading which one the moment needs, that's the skill. Here's what changed when I started treating energy as something to direct, not just express. I stopped walking into every room the same way. My natural optimism and forward momentum are still there. That's who I am. But now, I choose when to deploy it and when to bring something different. In a strategy meeting where the team is stuck, I bring vision and possibility. That's when my forward energy serves. In a difficult conversation where someone's struggling, I bring groundedness and acknowledgement first. I meet them where they are before I try to move them forward. In a crisis where everyone is panicking, I bring calm and steady presence. My team does not need my intensity matching theirs. They need someone anchored. Same leader. Different energy for different moments. Completely different impact. One more thing I've learned. Your energy doesn't just affect the room in the moment. It shapes culture over time. If you consistently bring urgency, your culture becomes reactive. If you consistently bring optimism without acknowledgement, your culture learns to hide struggles. If you consistently bring calm without momentum, your culture becomes complacent. The energy you bring most often becomes the energy your organization normalizes. So the question isn't just, what does this moment need? It's also, what culture am I building with the energy I bring consistently? I still believe energy drives execution. I'm still someone who sees possibility and creates momentum. But now I see energy as something to direct strategically, not just a natural expression of who I am. It's a tool. And like any tool, it works brilliantly when applied to the right situation and damages when applied to the wrong one. So here's my question for you. What kind of energy are you bringing into the rooms you're in right now? And is it actually what's needed? Are you bringing urgency when the moment needs calm? Optimism when the moment needs acknowledgement? Momentum when the moment needs pause? Or are you reading the room and choosing the energy that serves the situation? Because the best leaders I coach aren't the most energetic. They're the most intentional about the energy they bring. They've learned to think first, not just about strategy, but about how they show up to deliver it. Energy isn't just how you feel, it's how you lead. And when you get intentional about it, everything changes. Think First book includes the complete framework for reading moments and choosing your energy strategically. Get early access at deliberateDirections.com/thinkfirst. I'm Allison Dunn. Thank you for joining me today.